Hello, everyone. This is Mike from Your Car Dealer Bond, bringing you another episode of the Your Car Dealer podcast. This week, we're gonna jump in. If I'm gonna leave you guys with 7 habits of highly successful used car dealers. So I'm bringing you some of the most effective habits these guys all have over the years. Doing a lot of conversing with these dealers, small, big, wholesale auto brokers, retailers, you name it, California, Arizona. You'd be surprised. There's really not, they've all got different paths that they're going down to make money. They all have got maybe different, maybe slightly different business models in some sense. There's a lot of variation in some of those pieces. At the end of the day, kind of distills down to everybody's trying to sell cars, and everybody's trying to sell their services, and everybody's trying to, scratch out a living and, get everybody paid, and hopefully there's some that they can take home for themselves at the end of the day. So, but how they get there, some of those habits that these guys have, I've distilled them down, I've poured them down. I'm giving you 7. Obviously, there's probably 77 I could sock you guys up with, but just to keep it tight, nice, I'm going to give you 7 habits. Stick in there. So without further ado, I promised it to you guys. The 7 habits of highly effective used car dealers. Highly effective. These are the best of the best, the cream of the crop. We distilled it down, and you're going to notice this is going to be across the board. These dealers are not setting their ceiling too low. Number 1, they're not setting that ceiling too low. This is a big deal, and I'll tell you why. A lot of you guys, and I know this for a fact. This is the truth. And good, bad, or indifferent, some of you guys have a different outlook on this, on formal education. I could tell you, my grandmother doesn't want to talk to you. She's a lifelong educator. She doesn't want to talk to anybody. Nobody's on the same level as her unless you went to college and graduated. You get some kind of degree. Other than that, you're not worth the squirt of piss. My brother graduated, law degree. He's fine. He's in good graces. I own my own business. Made it to an executive level at a nationwide insurance company, yet I'll never be worth the squirt of piss because I never actually went to college. I went for a year. Actually, I didn't go for a year. I went for like 3-4 weeks, and I needed glasses so fucking severely that, and I never knew this through any of my first 21 years on this planet. Didn't understand, nor did my mother, nor did those bozos that used to give that stupid fucking test, that eye test. They'd go and they'd sit there with a bunch of stupid ass letters on the other side of the room, and they'd cover one eye, then they'd cover the other eye. And when I did this perfectly, everybody'd jump up and down and say, "This guy's eyesight's perfect." Really? If they would have stuck a book in front of my face, I wouldn't have been able to see anything. Like, I don't know what's going on. What's this about? I didn't know how to read for shit. I read my first book when I was like 20. And trust me, it wasn't by choice. All that to say that up until the time where I became a manager or supervisor or something, nobody even noticed it. Then all of a sudden, somebody's training me who was a manager there. They're saying, "Hey, come and look at this screen so you can see what I'm saying, and you can kind of understand what I'm trying to show you." And I'm sitting there looking at it going, "Yeah, kind of making out these numbers here." And she's like, "What the hell's wrong with you? You look like you can't see shit." I said, She's like, do you need glasses? No, I don't need glasses. She goes, what does this say? I'm not sure. It looks like it says $365,000 and 64 cents. No, not at all. You're like $1 million off. Like, this is totally obvious that she's like, what the hell's wrong with you? Here's my optometrist. Call his ass tomorrow. Matter of fact, get your ass out of here and go to his office right now. I'm going to call him right now. She called him right there. I was still in the office. She made an appointment for me right then and there in her office. Sue Munschauer. Today it's Sue Godoy. Thank you, Sue. I know you're not listening, but thank you. Anybody who talks to Sue Godoy out there. My life changed from that point on. I learned how to read properly after that, really well. And the next 20 years I've spent honing the skills that I was able to acquire and polish up with reading. All that to say, number one thing, a lot of times I know with people like me, or with people that have had, they grew up, their childhood, they get some kind of, people with acne, that had acne, people that had, people that are short, people that have struggled with weight, and people that didn't go to school. By the time you're a little older, this will, trust me, I've got 2 of the 4, so, always battled weight, and I'm fucking 5'5" as an adult, so, shit, do the math. And didn't go to fucking college. Now you add the trifecta, didn't go to college. So you're automatically, your ceiling, you set it for yourself just a little lower maybe. Sometimes even a lot lower. I had this inferiority complex for fucking years until I went and worked in this corporate office, in the corporate office where all of this shit happened. That's where Mike McGraw was at. That's where Joan McGraw, that's where Jack McGraw, that's where everything happened. That's where all of these people there was 20 different attorneys in this office. There was different directors, there was different management, there was upper management. I mean, you name it. These guys, the IT team, the guys that built the website, the guys that did all of this, that built the infrastructure of this business basically. That was all done out of the Menlo Park office up in the Bay Area. And then the worker bees, the ones that underwrote, the ones that sent shit out, the production office basically, those were the people that took all the phone calls. That happened in Anaheim Hills. That happened in Anaheim. Actually, it was first in Anaheim. They moved to Anaheim Hills later, but that happened in Anaheim. Well, there were 2 totally separate. In one office, nobody had a degree. In the other office, everybody had a degree, except for me, and I was the one floating between both offices. I used to have to go back and forth every single month, and I went back and forth, actually lived in both places, worked out of both places for over the course of 20 years. I mean, I went back and forth 4 different times for the company, just as they transitioned me into different promotions. Now you're going to be in charge of this, but it's out of Anaheim. Okay, I'll move. Okay, well, now you're 28. Now we're going to put you in charge of this, but you got to move back to Menlo Park. Okay, I'll go. I don't have a family yet. Or, whatever it is. And if it was a good enough, that's how in the hell do you think I got to executive director with no degree? I was the only fucker in there for years, over a decade probably, with no degree. But yet I was in there chewing assholes out. And not in a bad way, like I'm chewing people out. I'm talking about we're at the round table and we're trying to figure out a problem nobody's ever seen. And these fuckers are slow on the trigger. These guys that are dependent on their degree to tell them the answer. Yeah, that's dog shit, thinking They teaches you how to think critically in college. I'm not so positive, man. I gotta tell you, most of who I saw were not, and I'm telling you, these are $100,000, $150,000 a year. The bottom level of who I'm dealing with is making $60,000, $70,000 a year. That's the bottom level. That's like you're a scrub, but they let you into the room to maybe take notes. Do the math. I mean, these guys, it goes all the way up. These are attorneys, right, at the top level. But all that to say, don't set that damn ceiling too low. That's the number one mistake I've seen, and the number one mistake that doesn't get made by these guys that have made it and that have been super damn successful in the used car dealer industry. Don't set that, they don't do that. They don't set that ceiling too low. I still to this day do this shit. When I had first envisioned this stupid podcast, I was thinking, God, if I could only get 500 in the first year, I'd be happy. I ended up doing almost 1,000. And I said, oh man, if I could get up to maybe getting a couple of, maybe 250 downloads a month, God, that would be really awesome. Really? We've got over 600 a month this year, average. I mean, dude, it's not, and we're growing, right? Everything I did when I first started this business, my whole idea was if I could just get this thing to pay for gas in my truck and maybe to get back and forth to work, you know, 'cause in the Bay Area, you got to pay a toll every day to get to the, shit, you got to pay well, back then it was $5 a day to get to the other side of the bridge, to the nice side of the bridge. You could live on one side for, I'm not going to say a reasonable price, but a lot more reasonable than the other side of the bridge where it was beautiful. But I had to work on that side. So, anyway, don't set that ceiling too low. It's a huge mistake. I know the propensity to make it. Set those. That's what Grant Cardone's book is all about. That book that's a huge, that shit made him. I know Grant Cardone, that's not what made Grant Cardone, but that's sure as shit what made him a shitload of money is the 10X rule. And that 10X rule, it all goes to set those, what do you want to make this year? Okay, now 10X that number. You want to make 50,000, now say you want to make 500,000. Shoot for the stars, you just might hit the moon. Really is what that comes down to. If you're shooting for 500 but you only make 300, boo-hoo. But if you shoot for 50 and you even overachieve by 25,000, you only made 75. Right? So shoot for the stars, you just might hit the moon is the same thing as the 10X rule, which is the same thing as don't set that damn ceiling too low. Right? Don't shortchange yourself. No matter what your background is or what you've been up against so far, don't set your ceiling too low, because if you're doing all the right stuff, don't expect for success not to happen. So I don't want to beat that thing to death here, but that is, I would say, one of the biggest mistakes and one of the biggest things that these guys are doing that are the most successful dealers. So number 2, they focus on the most important things exclusively. We've got some dealers on the books, and all the way up to Beverly Hills exotic cars. They've got a couple different names, the DBA and the LLC, but Beverly Hills Car Club basically is one of our customers, has been for years, has bought. Actually, they were buying a lot of defective title bonds also from us, so they were buying hundreds of bonds a year. So we got into a really good relationship with them and their team. Guys like, Apex Wholesale, some of these bigger dealers, some of these really good dealers over the years, whether I've done inspections with them, whether they've been on the books with us. The one thing I notice is that these guys are razor fucking focused on all the right shit. They're not out dicking around. Now, don't get me wrong. It's not that they're not out screwing around with the sales guys or making these other set of guys laugh out in the F&I guy and some of that team. Right? That's not what I'm saying. They're not out spending copious amounts of time reading the paper. They're not out spending copious amounts of time chasing something that may or may not be working. What they're working on is exactly what's working, because they've sifted through all the other dog shit and they're saying, gosh, this really doesn't move the meter that much. I got to stop doing it. They don't stop analyzing what they're doing so they can focus enough time on, gosh, you know what? This is making us a lot of money. I got to double down in this area. This one bet. Imagine yourself at the casino. You're playing some roulette. Somebody gives you $1,000 and says, roll in there and go do your business. Right? And we'll see you at the end of the night. And we'll see if you're up or down. Imagine that. right? You're going to go do maybe you're a slot slut. Maybe you're out there on the slots for an hour. You say, I'm going to check my luck here. Then you go and you give yourself an hour on each one, let's just say. Over here on the slots, you gave yourself an hour, you lost $20. You gave yourself an hour on the roulette wheel, you won $20. You give yourself an hour on the Texas Hold'em table. What's up, Texas Hold'em players? What's up, baby? Texas Hold'em table, you gave yourself an hour, you won $500. Right? Then you gave yourself an hour playing craps. You won $20. Where do you think you're gonna go and spend the next 2 hours? It ain't hard, man. Where it's most profitable, baby. Right? You got a dirty dog over here. You got two dogs in the fight here. Two pit bulls are going at it. Who's gonna win? Right? The good dog or the bad dog? Huh? The dog who eats the most. That's who's gonna win. That's probably who's gonna win. The dog who eats the most. Now, yeah, you can make him mean and all this other shit. The dog who eats the most. Right? At the end of the day, that's what it's gonna come down to. Whatever part of your business is eating the most up with profit, start doubling down in that area, man. That's what they do. These guys that are really, really, really good, they're not out spending a bunch of time on that table, in that slot room that lost them $20, or even that won them, that crap table that won them $20. If they got some other move that won them $500, that's what they're doing, right? That's what they're doing. They focus on the most important things and they spend a minimal amount of time. They kind of divert that to other people to kind of mess around with that stuff. They might keep their toe in the water. Think of it like social media now, right? Maybe you got a Twitter that you spend 5 minutes on a week. You've got a Facebook you spend 5 minutes a week on, but Instagram you're tripling down because you notice that there's all kinds of extra traction there for you. You're getting a lot of engagements. You're selling cars, or you're making appointments that eventually turn out to be car sales, and that all is coming from your interaction on Instagram. Right? Now all of a sudden you're spending 2 hours there a week because you've only got 3 hours total to spend a week. You're only spending these small amounts of time doing this other stuff on Snap or on this other, these other platforms. But this one area you find to be good, you double down there. It's the reason why we're not on Pinterest. It's the reason why we don't do a lot on Facebook or Twitter. Is because we noticed that we get a hell of a lot more engagement on Instagram. Get a hell of a lot more engagement with the podcast. Get a hell of a lot more engagement with YouTube videos. What do you think we're doing? So focus in. First things first. Put that stuff that's real important. Put that in your crosshairs. Focus a lot of your time there, right? These car dealerships. Number 3, the car dealerships that perform a lot of that due diligence up front don't rush the process either, are really, really, really successful. What are we talking about here? Measure 3 times, but only cut once. Don't rush the process. They're not trying to hurry up and finish the website. They might be trying to hurry up and get a couple of pages done. But the overarching, deal is they're not rushing everything and doing it half-ass, right? They're not going to rush everything, have it come out piss poor, and then try to put out that product to the rest of the world, right? They want to polish it up, make sure the process is right, do a lot of that due diligence up front, and then once it's proper, once they got it, then you get it on, right? Then you run as fast as you can. Basically, you get real warm. Think of it like working out. You're going to warm up really, really good for 10 to 12 minutes. Really stretch. Maybe 15. Before, when I was jogging 6-7 miles or so, I was already in my 30s, so I was spending 12 to 15 minutes minimum stretching. Sometimes for a longer run, I would spend 20 minutes stretching, really just stretching the hell out of it. Why? Because I didn't want to have to stop during my workout because I got a cramp, or stop in the middle of my workout because holy dog shit, I can't move anymore. I've stiffened up. The lactic acids are building up. I can't feel my legs, Mike. Right? I didn't want any of that happening. So I did my due diligence. I really spent enough time up front. Right? So that this way, get your ass out of my way because I want to go now. That's exactly what these guys, these real successful dealers are doing. They're spending that time up front, getting out. They're taking all the they're taking the 100-meter. Think of it like it's the 100-meter hurdles, right? And that race is done. And this guy's saying, I could do the 100-meter hurdles and leave all these up. Or I could go take every one of these 10 hurdles down, and now I got a 100-yard dash on my hands. Which am I going to run faster? I'm going to run the 100-yard dash a lot faster. So let me spend this few minutes taking down these hurdles and getting them out of my way. That's what these guys do. Right? Number 3. That was number 3. Number 4. They develop a plan of attack, and they stick to it even when the times get rough. It sounds simple, kind of sticking to a plan, but making that, first part of that is making the plan, really taking the time to strategize, which kind of dovetails from the previous one, but really strategizing that plan of attack and then sticking to those guns because the hard times are going to come. This is something I've learned recently, is try to really anticipate where those tough times are going to come. When are they going to happen? You're going to have the tough times. Already imagine this is going to happen. These tough times are going to hit you. Where are they most likely to hit you? And when they do hit you, what are you most likely to cave into? Are you going to start kind of veering off to the left and getting kind of ADHD a little bit and start losing your focus on this? Like, what's bound to happen? What are you most likely to do that's going to derail your success? And they start anticipating it. And then they start strategizing what they're going to do when that happens. Now, to use wrestling terms, because I'm also a wrestling coach. To use wrestling terms, first you think of your move, then they're going to have a counter to it. So what do? You got to have a counter to their counter. And of course, if I'm coaching the other kid, I'm saying, they're going to do a move, you're going to have a counter, they're going to have a counter to your counter. Well, you got to have a counter to their counter. You can keep on going back and forth on this concept in perpetuity, but basically the idea is think ahead far enough to think, okay, where am I going to stumble? Now, when I do stumble, what am I going to do? When I hit the roadblock, maybe not stumble, but when I hit the roadblock, what am I going to do? What's my strategy going to be to let this not derail me? Sometimes it's as simple as, you know what, I'm going to go get a massage. When this time happens, I'm going to spend some time doing yoga. I'm going to go work out. I'm going to go get some ice cream. I don't know what your move is, but whatever it is, go do something you like doing or something that's going to give you some, I'm going to go back and talk to this one guy who I know always gives me good advice. I'm going to go and talk to this one mentor. I'm going to go and, look up and do this. I'm going to go and spend some time with my family and just reset. When you hit the roadblock, what happens? What do? How do you pivot? Right? And then they kind of set that up, the plan of attack. They set it up in a way to where you get that plan of attack, you stick to it, you figure out where you're going to stumble and fall when you're most likely to do that, and you find out a plan of attack to not be hamstrung by the end of this process, where you get to where you need to get to. I can't believe this is all fucking free. The successful, so number 5, these guys also have a positive attitude. More and more and more I see the millennials really with this shit bag attitude where everything they're in a bad fucking mood about, whether it's, everything's not going exactly according to plan or whatever the deal is. It seems like more and more and more the move is to have a shitty attitude and snarky. They came out with this new fucking word about years ago, snarky. And all that meant is that you have an attitude, right? Drop the attitude. these dealers that are really super successful, they're not super snarky. They're not always Debbie Downers. They're not, you notice, they're constantly upbeat. They're constantly upbeat. They constantly see this, even when things aren't going right, they know it's gonna eventually bounce in their direction. They're cool. Everything's cool. You're jingling, baby. Life is good. Shit. Things are happening. All is well. And if it ain't today, it will be tomorrow. We're gonna make it. Things are gonna be fine. Right? They're making all the right moves. Keep that attitude right. That's a big thing. I've given you 5 of them. 6 and 7. Here we go. I'm gonna blow through this. These are the most effective cars. 7 habits of highly effective used car dealers and what these guys are doing. Right? They understand the importance of recharging their batteries. They don't overcharge the batteries. They're not slothful. That's not what I'm getting at. They don't burn for too long. They don't burn it at both ends too long. They know when they're starting to lose momentum, they take some time out. They go do whatever it is to help themselves reset. I've noticed this about those best. I'm wondering, how in the hell does this guy have time to go work out? I don't have any time to go work out. He makes time to go and reset his mind. He's making time to go and jog. He's just as busy as you are. He gets just as much as you are done. Maybe more. That guy gets more done than you do. You see these guys. They do 1,000,000 things in a day. Gals too. You see them. The super mom, they're doing 1,000,000 things a day. How in the hell do they do it all? Right? And still make time to go work out. And still make time to every once in a while go and take care of themselves and go or do some yoga or whatever it is that helps them reset and recharge their batteries. Right? So that they're back on track and they're giving it 100% all the time. They're not dicking around giving you 70%. That's what happens when you burn out. You're giving yourself 70%, or now all of a sudden you're over there in the corner and you don't even want to go to work today because you're so fucking burnt out. And you get there today, but tomorrow you feel the exact same way. These guys don't ever go through that period of time, really. They bounce really quickly and in and out of those situations, bounce out really fast because they know, okay, time to recharge. No problem. I've been burning. I deserve it. I'm good. Last thing, guys. Here we go. And gals. I know you're out there. Super highly successful used car dealer. And this is in no particular order. But number 7. They understand that everything boils down to people, process, product. That's what it all boils down to. People, process, product. Your used car dealership boils down to people, process, product. What kind of people do you have working for you? Is that dirtball that won't work, that nobody else will hire, and he's on your team? Or is that Debbie Downer that's always bitching and moaning about something? That's who's on your team? You got that one that's constantly wanting more money and constantly bitching and moaning to anybody who will listen by the coffee or by the water cooler. Is that who's on your team? People. Process. What's your process? What's your process for your walk-arounds? What's your process for closing a deal? What's your process for once somebody's bought a car from you? What's your follow-up process with them? What's your follow-up process if they've come in and didn't buy? Process. Whether you're a restaurant, whether you're Disneyland, whether you're a used car dealer, sales, whether you're an insurance agent, processes are so important. It's just behind the people. I would say the people is the most important. People, process, and then your product. Right? What's your product? What are you selling? For the most part, you guys are all selling the same thing. What the hell did I say earlier? Dab's asking me, how do I really create my value proposition? How do I make myself unique when we're all selling the same shit? Because if you don't have a unique value proposition, you're getting stuck now competing on price. You really want to be the cheapest guy on the planet? Because that's not very sustainable. Unless you're doing mass quality. Why can Costco do it? Because they're doing mass quality. Why can't the small boutique place sell at the same price point? Because they're not doing that type of... They don't have the law of large numbers on their hands. Neither do you if you're a small to mid-sized dealer. You can't do it at the same... You got to have a unique value proposition that cannot be all about price. But again, that product is super important. If you're out buying branded, titled vehicles, if you're out buying lemon law buybacks, if you're out buying insurance vehicle totals, the insurance companies, their total or the lease returns, if that's your whole model, and trust me, I've got enough of these guys to where I know that's a model out there that works for some, but not for most. But if you're selling some banged up, shitty cars, and if that's not your audience, now, of course, if you got the right audience for it, you're, in that particular market, shit, you know what the market is. You know what you got to do to make it work. The point is that your people, process, product, right? People most important, process second, third, pay attention to your product. Make sure it's clean. Make sure it's tight. Make sure there's not a lot of scratches and dents and whatever. And obviously, if you're in a market where that's the kind of thing that gets that car to a price point where your customer can afford, then by all means, that's a different story. But I'm saying for the most part, these dealers that are really, really, really successful, they're focusing on the people, the process, the product. Again, this is Mike from Your Car Dealer Bond. And bringing you another week of the Your Car Dealer podcast. I really hope you guys got something out of it. I gave you guys a lot of detail, a lot of information. I thank you guys for telling your guys' friends about this, sharing it in any way that you guys can. I can't tell you guys. I'm getting a lot of interaction too, whether it's you guys are sending me messages or commenting on things, on posts that we're putting up on Instagram, or whether you guys are commenting on videos that we're putting up on our YouTube channel. You guys, I'm telling you guys are the best. Whether it's Nick, and I've got I've got a bunch of good stuff coming, because I've got some other dealers that are going to be coming on the podcast. Hit me up, damn it, if you want to be on the podcast. Tell your story. Tell me how what you guys are doing, how you guys are doing it. If you want to come on, I gave you guys my contact information. Hit me up. We'll figure out if it's a good fit. We'll sync up the times and schedules. I've got some really interesting dealers that I think you guys are going to learn a lot from. They're coming on. I got one of them coming on Monday. I got one coming up Wednesday. But those are probably not going to be aired for another 2 weeks. But just because I've got some information, some content in the can for you guys already that we're editing right now, and we're preparing for you guys. So we're socking it up to you guys. We're doing it all for free. We're burning a bunch of calories. Now I got to go find my family because they're around here someplace. But thank you guys for sticking in there, and for like I said, for telling a friend, for spreading the good word, and for interacting with us in any way possible. But you guys take care out there. Go out there, get that money. Let's go out there and get busy, guys. And again, we're gonna continue to give you everything possible to where you guys have everything you need to be a super successful used car dealership. Not only this year, but in years to come. So you guys take care out there, and stick in there for the next one. You guys come back.